While David Bowie was one of the most influential and innovative rock stars of his time, many rock stars did not like Bowie and saw him as an overrated artist and did not have good experiences meeting Bowie for the first time. Here's 6 rock stars who didn't like David Bowie. If you enjoy the video, please like the video and subscribe to the channel for more videos just like this one. As many great artists were inspired by Bob Dylan, David Bowie was no exception and admitted that he was a big fan of Dylan's and praised his songwriting and even named a track off his album Hunky Dory as song for Bob Dylan. As Bowie's popularity grew during the 70s, the two met on several occasions, with Dylan collaborating with Bowie's guitarist Mick Ronson for Rolling Thunder in 1975. But to the surprise of many, Bowie wasn't too happy when Dylan was mentioned in an interview, and where Bowie was asked if the two had collaborated musically during a Playboy interview in 1976. Bowie was disappointed with the question because he had never collaborated with Dylan and said that he went to go watch Dylan play live months earlier in New York, but Dylan never even spoke to Bowie, even though Dylan knew he was there. Bowie ended the interview saying that Dylan and him aren't great friends and that Bowie was under the impression that Dylan actually hates him. Bowie said that when he met Dylan for the first time, it was at a friend's house, and Bowie made the effort to go up and talk to Dylan, who he admittingly admired for years. Unfortunately, Dylan wasn't interested in talking to Bowie, and even though Bowie was engaging with Dylan, nothing came out of the conversation. Bowie even made the effort of giving Dylan his phone number, but he never called him. Bowie later said that he was disappointed during his first meeting with Dylan and felt hurt by Dylan's disinterest with him. Bowie also said that all he wanted to know from Dylan was what he thought of him and his music, but he didn't get that. While it's unknown why Dylan was so rude to Bowie the first time he met him, Dylan later warmed up to Bowie years later, but never exactly gave his thoughts on Bowie, and decades later, David Bowie still thought that Bob Dylan really didn't like him very much. Keithrichards didn't exactly hate David Bowie, but never said anything positive about him either. Over the years, Richards has called Bowie everything from a poser to a no-talent musician who simply dresses up and changes his act every few years to garner attention. The only time Richards actually paid Bowie a compliment came with the Hunky Dory track Changes, which Richards really likes, but other than that, Richards has said that he can't think of anything else he's done that would make his hair stand up. During an interview with India Today in 1976, Georgeharrison gave his thoughts on artists of the time that he really enjoyed, such as Stevie Wonder and Bob Dylan, yet also downgraded the artists he didn't like, such as Rod Stewart, Elton John, and David Bowie. When it came to Bowie, Harrison showed no remorse in his critique of his music and said he wasn't a fan of his collaboration with John Lennon on the song Fame and hated Bowie's different musical identities. Whether that was Ziggy Stardust or the Thin White Duke, Harrison despised Bowie's androgynous and flamboyant behavior and said, David Bowie ought to make up his mind with what sexy is and then decide what kind of music he wants to play. Maybe it was the fact that Harrison was in a bad mood during the interview, or that he just didn't like how Bowie presented himself, but Harrison couldn't stand David Bowie. A mutual friend of both George and David's, the Monty Python star Eric Idle, even tried to get the two to become friends, but they could never get on the same page. When Elton John and David Bowie first met, the two became fast friends for their love of music and often partied together in the early days, hopping back and forth to nightclubs as the two enjoyed each other's company. Unfortunately, for whatever reason, the two drifted apart and just stopped talking to each other altogether for no apparent reason. According to Elton John, the reason for the end of their friendship came as a result of Bowie's comments in the media about him, specifically in one instance during an interview with the Rolling Stone, where Bowie called him rock and roll's token queen. Elton was hurt when he heard what Bowie had said about him and called his remarks snotty and claimed that Bowie was most likely high when he said that. Elton later ended the conversation about Bowie saying that while he loved David's music and respected him as an artist, he always found David distant and difficult to understand. When David passed in 2016, Elton said he regretted that they weren't able to bury the hatchet, but said that he's forgiven David for everything that happened all those years ago. During a Frank Zappa show in Germany in 1978, David Bowie went up to Frank's guitarist, Adrian Belew, and tried to get him to join his band instead and to ditch Zappa. David was looking for a new guitar player to join his band on their upcoming tour and thought Adrian would make a perfect fit. Since Frank was taking a solo, Adrian had walked to the side of the stage where David gave him the proposition. Bowie and Adrian later went to dinner that same night at one of David's favorite restaurants to discuss their plans before they realized that Frank was also having dinner at the same restaurant. When Frank spotted them, Frank had no hesitation and told Bowie to f off. David would then plead with Frank, saying, "Oh, come on now, Frank. Surely we can be gentlemen about this," only to hear Frank mock Bowie again, saying, "F you, Captain Tom." Bowie would then leave the restaurant with Adrian, and Frank Zappa never spoke about David Bowie ever again. When David left the restaurant with Adrian, he made a joke saying, "That went rather well." Fortunately for the young guitarist, he was able to still finish out his tour with Zappa and then join David's band right after. But it's safe to say, Frank Zappa didn't have anything nice to say about David Bowie. Another rock star who had a bad experience with David during one of their shows was Axl Rose. During a Guns N' Roses show, Axl saw a drunken David Bowie flirting with his girlfriend and jumped in to confront Bowie on what was he doing with his girlfriend. The confrontation later led to a fistfight before the two were broken up, and Axl was furious that Bowie had gotten away. Slash would later confirm the story, and Axl would forever hold a grudge against David Bowie. Anyways, which one of these rock stars surprised you the most with their opinion of David Bowie? Are you a fan of David Bowie? Let us know in the comments down below, and like the video if you enjoyed it, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more videos just like this one. And until next time, I'll see you guys later.